hopefully people are able to see this. I really can't see. In fact, what I should probably do, let's go grab my other phone and scope out what the look. Hello, sir, Mr. Conrad. Just had to start a new live stream. Oh, I see there's 4 people in here right now. I had to start a new live stream because everything went to crap. So camera looks good. Rick says, Pat says, or Rich Patterson says, hey, all right. I need you guys. I need your feedback. The camera got messed up. The view got messed up. So we had to start a new stream. But looks like we're back in business. So I need to. Okay, so I'm gonna set up these squaring dies real quick, so I can prepare for isolating the tang from the bolster, or the bolster from the blade. Alright, so the material right now is at 1.5 inches. I have this 1/2 inch stop block here. I'll actually turn it around. This will help me to shove the material down. Actually, I'm going to put my long die on the top as well. So I'm going to get in there. I'm going to squish it down, and then we'll pull it back out and get forging. See if we can zoom in here just a little bit so you can actually see what's going on. Put my 1.5 inch spacer in the back, right behind it, so that I don't over squish my material. Material, bolster material, and setting that forge weld in there. Oops. Don't mind me, I'm just dropping stuff. Okay, that, I'm gonna zoom out. Did the zoom out work? Okay, that is isolating the bolster and the tang material. So actually on this one, I'm gonna be doing a different approach to the tang. I'm gonna be doing a threaded tang. So I'm gonna drill and tap the butt of the bolster, the bottom of the bolster, and then I'm gonna thread a tang in there. By still isolating what will become the bolster material, that still gives me something to hold on to while I'm forging out the blade. This is actually how I used to do my blade forging. I didn't used to forge out kind of like a proto tang or anything like that. I used to just forge the blade out, and or I would isolate the bolster, hold on to the bolster, and then forge the blade out, and then turn around and forge the tang out last, and then would do any straightening, corrective forging I needed to do. So now I'm just heating up the blade. I'm actually going to turn the temperature back up on the forge. That temp back up. Pick up some tongs. Okay. And now, yeah, like I said, now I'm just gonna be forging out the blade. I'm gonna start by forging in that point, actually. So I'm gonna get the hammer turned on, and that's gonna be noisy. So I want you guys to know it's gonna be noisy, just part of it. But I'm forging a symmetrical tip, and then I'm gonna start working on drawing out the blade to a certain point. And then I'm going to just forge the blade out more than anything. So, trying to decide what I want to do with this tang, or with the butt of this thing. It's still actually quite narrow in there, narrower probably than I would normally like, but I don't think there's really a lot to do about that. So I'm not really gonna fuss with that. I'm just gonna stay the way it is. I need to do that tough with my 12 ton. Trust me, dude, I did it for years on this. It's 25 ton. But once the material gets down to a 1/4 of an inch thick, even with kind of like narrower forging dies, it's still, nothing's hardly ever happening. You need something. Or you need usually at about that 1/4 inch mark. That's when I start forging by hand. So yeah, power hammer does help, even if it's just a little 25 pounder. Helps forge out blades more than anything. I have a 55 pounder. I'm gonna get it turned on and warmed up so that we can start forging here in a couple minutes once the steel is up to temp. So let's see. Let's zoom in here. Back to Forge ASMR. I know it's loud. So that second clack you're hearing, I think it's actually the bushing between the connecting rod and the top piston. There's a little extra play in there, and I don't like it. It needs to be replaced. I've been talking to Casey Walensky about getting that fixed up. So I'm probably not going to talk a whole lot while I'm doing the forging. I'll try to point some things out, but for the most part, I'm probably just going to be forging and showing you guys that process. I'm actually going to turn this camera around somehow. Well, yeah, we talked about that, didn't we, Rich? I have not tried tightening those screws yet, but that could help. crap, Rich, what a difference. 14 and a 12. glad that you said that. Nobody's ever said that to me. I don't know if I did that right, but for right now, it sounds like it's still working without the clacking. It probably must have. There must be like some adjustable sleeves on the inside, right? And you just kind of snug them up until I don't know what. But holy crap, dude! What a difference! What an incredible difference! It's been doing that for a while now and just getting worse. I'm glad it's not the bushing, because that bushing would have been a pain in the ass to fix. Oh my god. What the hell? Alright, so where am I at? So, I forged in the tip, right? All it is a divot that a screw pushes into, and then the screws loosen up. When the screws loosen up, it rattles. Okay. That's good to know. Okay, so I can't believe how quiet it is right now. Okay, I mean it's still loud, but it's considerably quiet. I forged in the point on the blade, and then I started drawing out the length of the blade. I'm actually going to get back under my forging press dies to tighten up that transition from the blade to the bolster, and then I'll get back over onto the hammer to keep forging that blade out. So I'm gonna make some adjustments over here real quick. I'm gonna get rid of these flat dies, get rid of these spacers too. Forge this round, and then I'm going to switch to flat dies. I haven't really been playing a whole lot with rounding dies for forging out blades, but I know how to use flat dies. So we're probably going to transition after this round of forging to try to isolate a little bit better. Then we're going to transition over to drawing or flat dies to forge out the blade the rest of the way. Back in the forge, and we're going to adjust the hammer dies. Switch them out, that is. Okay. Catch that. down the heat just a little bit so that the forge isn't just ripping hot and ripping and raring and going. Okay, set this aside here. This thing's too tall. Right, put that under there. Grab a brush. Brush out the waves. Sometimes putting that key back in can be kind of sketchy. Try to find another shorter piece. Just enough. Oh wait, I think this might be. I'll be right back. By the way, if you're wondering what the heck happened to the steel, isn't it in the forge overheating? It would be if I wasn't paying attention to the idea of turning the forge down. Thankfully I did that. That will work. Over. This key I do not want to go flying. Actually, this is the wrong punch. Probably a good idea to have all the punches I use in the same place, huh? There you go. But I'm not that smart. Rich, I am so excited to use this hammer again. Oh my god. You have no idea, dude. I feel like that's not actually in there the right way. That key's nested a little bit, that's when I can really get after it. Oh, almost there. Over. Well, maybe I'm not too worried about that right now. So there. Man, what a difference. I'm going to try to adjust this angle a little bit so you guys can see, try to see a little bit better as to what is actually going on. So I'm going to bring you up so that you're kind of looking down. At what I'm doing. Come over from the edge. What I like to do is sorry, I was reading Michael's comment. Yuxel ER, what's up? I like to, because my bolsters are at an angle, I approach the billet at an, or I approach the hammer at an angle, and then at a certain point, I'm gonna, oh shoot, I just realized I gotta turn the temp on this forge back up. Okay. So, I like to approach the steel at an angle, because, or the hammer at an angle, because I want my bolster to be at an angle. I'm gonna draw, yeah, you already saw me forge the tip in, so I forged the tip in, and then I start to draw the length of the material down to roughly about 1/4 of an inch, or about 3 millimeters. Yeah, so 3/16 quarter, or just under a quarter. Once I get it at the transition area at the bolster where I want it to be, that is when I start to pull down the heel height. So I start to draw out the heel height, get some of that heel height. It's already at 1.5 inches. I only need it to get to about 2 1/4. I find that if I start drawing it down when the steel is at about 1/4 inch or just under 1/4 inch, but around between 1/4 and 3/16 inch, I can pull that heel down to get that 2 1/4 inch heel height that I want, as well as then using the back corner of the forging dies to help kind of move the hammer or move the steel material around. So that's what I'm going to be kind of working on these next couple of heats. So let's get you set back up again. I think the steel is back up to temp. Okay. So I'm going to move this out just a little bit. Okay. Steel at that blade to bolster transition is starting to get a little wonky, right? So we're gonna do a little squishing to kind of straighten out that bolster in relationship to that steel. I'm gonna show you how I do that. Let's get you, let's turn it around like this. We want to be back here. Put that down a little bit. That in. Again, limiting how far I can compress the steel. So that bolster is only 1 inch tall or 1 inch thick, right? So if the steel steel is at 1 3/4. So I just need a 3/4 spacer underneath the bolster to help shove it back off. Rest the bolster on that, and then I'm going to push down on the dies so that bottom, this spacer shoves the bolster up while the top die, the top flat die, is pushing that spine down. This spacer is just a little bit taller. I'm going to do the same process, it's just a slightly taller spacer. This spacer also has a gentler inside corner. Like I need just a little bit more height. Definitely less of an issue than it was. If I need to, I can come back and do that same process with a different set of spacers. So the question you might be asking is, why does that happen? When you are reducing the thickness of what will become the blade material, and you're using flat dies, even if you're using drawing dies, there's a chance for it to still want to move in all directions. Not only lengthwise, as you draw it out, but spine and edge width, or widthwise, towards the spine and towards the edge. And so that causes that hump to form on the spine. So by having a little bit of tooling in place, you can help to correct that without things getting too crazy. Okay, so next heat the blade up right now. We'll get back under the hammer, do a little bit more forging work. Like a super solid hold on this bolster. These tongs are not meant to hold this shape, so it's flopping all over the place. It's kind of driving me nuts. But unfortunately, that's just what I got to work with. So I'm going to draw it out, and then I'm going to start working on that heel again. Top over here, have a look in the forge, see if we can see the steels come back up to temp. It's just a back and forth play, forging out a blade. It's just what you gotta do. Let's see what we got for questions in here. Actually, the only comment I haven't read, so Michael Powell says that he's got a chunk of one of those keyway wedges in his gut, because, or not, maybe not his gut, hopefully, but in his belly, because the edge of it split off. So what can happen as you're forging on one of those is they will start to mushroom like this, right? And you can see on this one in particular, let's see. Yeah, there's a couple cracks. You see a crack there. Another one starting to form right there. But those become dangerous. So honestly, I should clean those off. If you let it go too far, they become weak, they shoot off. They can shoot off at extremely fast speeds, and who knows where they're gonna go. They go to your face, your gut, they go across the room, hit your friend, hit your wife, whoever's around, your kid, if your kid's hanging out watching you forge. Be safe, people, be safe. All right, let's pull in here again. Now I'm going to start working on that bolster for the heel. The steel's getting cold. I don't want to stress it out too much while it's getting cold, so I'm going to put it back in the forge. Oh, there we go. So this is where we're at. Still got quite a bit of thickness at the edge. It's probably 3 times as thick as it needs to be as forged. That tells me I can still draw that heel down quite a bit. All right. Any questions, comments? It's getting hot in here. Very hot. I got the fan going. But that's mostly to keep the fresh air in here. Not trying to get myself carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna keep working on that edge. And because I have actually kind of a tenuous hold on that steel, I'm gonna actually use two tongs. One holding the bolster and one using a part of the blade, or holding a part of the blade, so that I can focus on pulling that heel down. And I'm probably gonna flip it over and work on this corner of the die, the corner facing the camera more. So hopefully you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. Oop. How's that? All right. probably just at or just over 2 inches. I still have, some good thickness at that heel. I'm gonna keep pushing it. I wanna get more heel height. We're getting to a place where the steel, have you ever used the top tools with power hammer? I have not done most of my blade forging with flat dies. That doesn't mean that's better. That's just what I've been comfortable with. I haven't done a lot of work with top tools. I think if I wanted to, I would prefer to work with somebody to get a feel for them, somebody who has more experience with them. I've done a little bit of work with top tools. I guess I kind of lied a little bit. I've done a little bit of work with top tools, but not a lot. So, yeah, that's that. So, if you're gonna do it, learn from somebody who knows better than you, more than anything. Okay. I'm gonna check on the steel. We're at a point where the steel is heating up pretty quickly now, every heat. So I'm just gonna keep going in and out, in and out. Just doing some light blows, light blows to try to help correct that profile shape, as well as give myself a little bit more of a bevel. You can see up here it's still quite a bit thicker than it is back at the heel, because I've been forging a lot more back at the heel to draw it out and get more heat, move that, or more height, and move that edge around, or draw that heel down. Next heat, I'm going to come back in. Now that I've done a little bit of corrective forging, I'm going to focus on that heel again, and then I'll come back along the edge and wash it around, just using the corner of those dies to help forge out the blade. Curious if you guys can kind of see the pattern now a little bit. Let's see. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see how those angles are pretty dramatic going down the length of the blade. Back near the heel, it's not too dramatic. They'll still be there, but as you draw the blade out, that elongates that angle. All right, bloody hell. Step out for an hour, you almost got a whole knife forged out. If I wasn't filming, this probably would go a lot faster. But I'm thankful. I'm trying to just take my time, because I have made the mistake of rushing while demoing, and everything goes to shit. So I'm trying to take my time. But I hope your hour of stepping away was productive. I'm actually going to turn the forge my direction a little bit. Looking over at the forge, but I can't see anything that's happening. But by turning the forge, thankfully my forge is kind of on a swivel head, I can see what's happening. All right, Gabe's back in here, Anchorage Forge. He says, I'm working with you, brother. Hand sanding away. Hell yeah. You're probably enjoying some of those beautiful pilsners you make, though. I almost said those pilsners you forge. You don't forge pilsners, but you do make delicious beers. All right, again, I'm looking at that heel right now. I'm actually gonna flip the blade over, let that heel heat up just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna focus on just the heel. Thank you for slowing down for us dummies. No, you're not dummies. I've just been rushing a lot, and when I rush, I make mistakes. A lot of mistakes. Okay. Stop. Yep, alright, it's already coming up. Alright, I'm gonna set you guys up again. Dang, look at that heel height. Love that heel height. Again, that bolster is 1 inch. Or just under, it might be closer to 15, 16 or 7 inches. But I definitely got some solid heel height here. So now it's about spreading the material around. I still got a lot of material at the heel. I might try to push it just a little bit farther to get a little bit more heel height. But just so I have room, margin for error. This hammer sounds so much better. It's crazy. It's freaking crazy. Thanks to Rich Patterson Forge. I know it's backwards, sorry. Anyways. Yeah. What is all this stuff? Oh no. Don't lie. Anyways. Rich, I made a small adjustment on those guide pins. That's making such a huge difference. It's so quiet. I think I'll probably spend a little bit of time actually researching and talking to Casey Walensky about tuning that, and then come back in and dial it back in again. Watching that heel on that steel. The heel on that steel. It's looking good. I think I'm about ready to pull it back out. I don't want to get too hot. Alright, regarding that heel, I'm good with that heel. It's just over a 1/16 of an inch at the edge. So, I'm going to stop fussing around the heel. I'm going to work with the rest of the profile, forge the rest of the blade profile out. Right now it's just a rough kind of shape. We're going to get this dialed in. Looks like you're starting the hammering at the edge of the heel. then working towards the spine. Is that correct? You are 100% correct, Rick. So the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to use the force of the hammer on that back corner on the very small area, and then I take a step in and then again forge on that area, that small area, and I'm only moving in maybe an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch, or at least I'm trying, doing small bites. But what I'm doing, that's actually going to help me move my material more effectively than starting at the spine and distributing that force over a large area and then smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. If I start small and stay small, because I'm only doing small steps in, right? I'm going to get more dramatic drawing and movement of that steel if I start at the heel, the very corner, outside corner of that steel, and work my way in rather than starting at the spine and working my way down to the edge. It's very counterintuitive. It took me definitely a few tries and mistake making to get that right. And it's not always hard and fast rules. There are sometimes you'll want to do some forging up near the spine before pulling, like working down towards the edge. But generally, especially when I'm trying to go for a tall chef's knife, I'm forging along the edge and pushing up towards the spine. Coulter Moulton, he says, that's what I like about your patterns. You see so many people make patterns that they don't want to distort. So it's basically a giant stock removal knife. Your forging is part of the pattern. Yes, for sure. My forging is definitely part of the pattern. That steel's freaking hot. I'm gonna get that out of there. Talking too much. I don't want to ruin it. I'm trying to get drawn in here as best as I can, so you guys can see what's going on. Again, now I'm just using this back corner of the hammer to kind of wash that material around and pull it out. A light load. But that profile is looking much nicer, right? So I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep washing it around, forging it. I gotta do a little bit, it's getting kind of wonky. Straighten this wise. I'm gonna do a little hand forging and then put it back in the forge. What did I do with my water? I found it. Here it is. Oh, surprise, surprise. There's chunks of metal in it. Glad I'm wearing eye protection. These are actually little chunks of forge scale. I don't know if they're from me forging on the anvil or forging on the hammer, but from where I'm standing right here, my cup was like 6 feet that way, and it would have been a bummer if that ended up in my face, my eye, for whatever reason. It shows you how far the material can move. Okay, I'm actually thinking I might do the rest of this, at least the blade portion, by hand, because working under the hammer is proving to be somewhat frustrating because that bolster is in a weird shape and I can't really hold on to it very well with my with my tongs, and it's flopping all over the place, and I don't feel like I have good control. Real quick, Coulter is saying, you got any more plans on doing more classes down in Louisiana? I missed your last class, but I would like to make a class at some point. I have been talking about doing other classes down in the South, maybe not necessarily Louisiana. I have a friend over in Alabama, actually, who was at the class in Louisiana. I believe he's in Mobile. And so, talking to him about doing a class over there, which I think would be super cool. Sounds like he's got a great setup. But it would probably be more like theory stuff. But there could be some forging. I'm trying to learn how to figure out how to incorporate some of the forging along with the theory, so it's not just like theory the whole time, because it's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna actually turn the hammer off for a second and give it a break. It's getting hot up here. Not too hot. I can hold my hand here just fine. But let that cool down a bit and do some hand forging. So, be back in a second. Where to put you guys is the real question. How do I put you in a safe place? I did this yesterday, right? Let's see. Get this set up. How far? Oh, look at that. Alright. So on this next heat, I think I'm going to start by spreading the material out towards the tip. It's a little narrow out there still. Let's see, I'm gonna pull this out just a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna turn this forge away so it's not pointing right at my face while I'm forging. Alright. I'm gonna use my crossbeam. Now I don't want to get too crazy because I don't want to upset and distort the pattern too much. But I do want to get it to spread some. I'm not hitting super hard. I'm not going crazy. But those cross beams are pretty effective. They're doing their job. Pattern somewhat down in that bolster area. It's kind of cool looking. I'm gonna get this back in the forge. But it's a little bit more like a chef's knife, right? In fact, you could potentially just stock move the blade from here. When your material gets thin, you got to be careful forging, especially if it's a mosaic. No matter how you weld it up, you got to be careful when the cross section of that steel gets thin, because any kind of dramatic reduction, which is why under the power hammer I'm trying to be very gentle. I'm not just jamming down on it, right? I'm kind of massaging it and moving it around, right? Just kind of washing, what I call washing the steel around. If you do too dramatic of a step, that can cause undesired distortion in the pattern. In fact, even what I just did right there makes me a little leery that something weird might happen, but I'm trying not to stress out too much. I needed to spread. I got to spread actually a little bit more of the material, and then I'm going to do just hand hammering with the faces to tune in the profile and stuff. All right, let's get back in here. There we go. so sweaty. Getting sweat in my eyeballs. Oh. So, I'm trying to think what else. Pertinent. I'm going to do a little bit more spreading near the tip, and then flat face forging with the faces of the hammer, and then tune the profile, and then I think the blade portion is going to basically be done. Yeah. Steel's heating up quick, so we're gonna get you back down here, zoomed in. Have a quick look at the pattern. Start to see the pattern a little bit. Funky in there the way it is. Excited to see how it transitions and changes as you forge down the length of the blade. Woo! It's a long stream already. Yeah. I actually think, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this stream. I'm going to finish forging this blade profile. Get that dialed in. And then I'm going to call it good for the stream. Because the bolster work is going to be just a little bit of futzing. Nothing crazy. But nothing too fancy is happening there. Anyways, so I'm going to get the blade profile dialed in. We're going to do some normalizing cycles with it. And then, well, actually, because I'm probably going to do more forging, I'm not going to do it normally. But I do want to get the profile dialed in. So I'm going to get this steel back out. We're going to forge that tip. As you can tell, it's still a little bit round, right? So I'm going to forge it in. Right? Still kind of fun. Not too bad. Got these tongs are barely holding onto this bolster. Okay. Tip forged in, right? Spend more time refining it, but I'm not gonna. Now I'm gonna do some work to dial in the profile. So if you look at this profile, it curves in just in front of the heel, just a little bit. So I don't want to lose some of the heel just to grind down to that dip. So I'm gonna do some forging along the profile, along the cutting edge, to draw that out a little bit. Yeah. Then we'll be close to being done. Actually got to pull the temperature, pull the pressure down. Right now the forge has been running at 20 psi. I pulled it down to pulled it down to 15. Pattern's looking pretty cool. Yeah, pattern's looking cool. And then this approach now, what I'm kind of doing is more planishing temperatures. I'm not really trying to do massive reduction in cross section. I'm trying to smooth out the blade and dial in the profile. Nothing too crazy. If anybody, of course, has questions, please feel free to jump in. See how the steel looks. It's hot. Let's drop it back down here again. I'm going to center it back up on the anvil since I'm mostly going to be forging across the face now. Down at the heel, it's about a 1/16 of an inch thick at the heel, but just in front of it, just over a 1/16, and it tapers out to about an 1/8 down at the tip. You see the blade profile starting to swoop a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I was just forging along the edge like this, right? So now I'm going to scoot in a little bit, kind of down through the middle of the blade and kind of near the spine, but just short of the spine. And I'm going to forge right in here, and that's going to cause the material to spread in both directions from that point in which I'm forging it. So that'll help push the spine out, as well as allow me to keep the curvature that I have in my cutting edge. It is so damn hot in here. Man, I woke up this morning and, what was it? I was sitting on the couch and I picked up a water bottle that was next to me. It was a big old hydro flask. I went to go put it on the coffee table, and something between here and here caused my back to go spasm. And I didn't think I was going to be able to make it in today. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad this is almost done. Looking good. Actually, I think I'm going to move from this hammer, since I don't really feel like I need a cross bead anymore. I'm going to go to my dog head. My dog head from my boy Sam Cobb, Hilltop Forge. Had that hammer for a long time. It's a nice hammer. Now I only use it kind of like for the end, for like profiling at the end, dialing it in. Wire brush that face a little bit. It's good. I like it. The reason I like this face is when it hits, it's only leaving like a nickel-sized dimple in the face, but it also has enough curvature that it spreads the material around the way I want it to. profile. What a difference, right? Looking good. Kind of see that pattern there in that steel. I do have kind of a little bit of a hump here. I can fight that and forge it, try to forge it in. I don't think I'm going to do that though. I think what I'm going to do is just leave it for now. Address it later. I think we're going to call it good. Obviously, there's more work to be done to really like dial in the rest of this profiling. But for the sake of duration of this stream, I'm going to call it good. It's actually pretty damn. We're live. I'm back. Holy crap. Sorry. Okay. Well, now I got a bunch of crap blown in my eye. Okay. Let's try to tidy up the end of that stream. I'm really sorry about that. I think one of the downsides of doing these forging live streams is that it is very intensive on the camera, especially when the camera is around a forge. There's a lot of heat, and that causes the camera to freak out. Oh my god, something in my eye. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the steel. So what we forged, got a tip, it's got an edge, it's got a spine, it's got a bolster. We're gonna call it good for now. And I appreciate everybody hanging out, supporting me while I forge this knife out. While I struggle, honestly, while I struggle through making the steel. But I think there's a lot of great takeaways. I think tomorrow or the next stream, I'm gonna do a Q&A, and it's gonna probably be a Patreon only Q&A, but basically it's going to be an overview of what I had originally planned, what ended up actually happening, all the things along the way that kind of were mistakes or where I went wrong, how I could have done things differently, what I did that was successful in cleaning up or in making the steel come back together successfully. So it's going to be basically forging in review, Damascus in review. I'm gonna go over how, the whole thing. So, I'll make sure to let people know when that next stream is, but I'm not quite sure when exactly that's gonna be. Probably not to, maybe Thursday, I think. Thursday or tomorrow morning. Otherwise, Wednesday is a pretty busy day for me. So, outside of just in life. So, I can't wait to see a new pattern come out. Yes, I can't either. Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to kind of review everything. Kind of, what is it called? What's that called at the end? Closing thoughts or whatever, I don't know. Anyways, I'll figure it out. My brain's not working super well and it's hot. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you all for helping me. If you want to see more content like this, your support is crucial over in the Patreon. In the Patreon, I'm working on building a book about Damascus patterns. This is part of the content that I'm building as a companion to the book. So people can understand the process that I go through and some of my thought process in making these patterns. These videos will be available on the Patreon. These live streams definitely need to be edited down. There's a lot of me talking, honestly, and just like stuff that's not happening or not interesting that needs to be cut out. And so I'm going to be editing those videos starting up pretty soon. Actually, I just got some great advice from my friend Dennis Tyrell in regards to video editing. So I'll be working on those soon. And a little sneak peek. Dennis and I are talking about doing something pretty cool down at his shop. So keep your ears to the ground in regards to what that's going to be. Yeah. So, Otherwise, I think that's it. I'll call it good. Everybody have a good day. Be safe. Stay cool. It's hot. Stay cool. And hydrated. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.